you
One thing
go.
that I ran
Welcome.
into is that, yeah, so changing the UI, like in the dot and your dot and you should put your environment variables in there. It's actually in, this is a portion of the docs that actually is actually covered pretty well and correctly. I want to go through, once I get everything working on mine, I want to go through and update the Docker document, like permission documentation, since I think it's a lot even simpler than what is listed on there. But you need to put into your .env environment. Sorry, I'm just pulling my stuff up right now. Where are you? But it's the same kind of the variables that you have in your um. It's like the user, like database username, database password. These are Augur DB, Augur DB user, Augur DB password, Augur GitHub API key, username,
Yeah.
GitLab. So pretty much the
So,
same, all the same exact things. The one thing I have learned is that if you change the DB user to something that isn't Augur, it doesn't work. And
no,
I wasted
that's
a lot of, yeah, and I wasted a lot of time because I was like, I don't even know why I decided to change that, but I did. And
yeah.
but so you just need to create a .env environment or file that has all that information.
So I remember Greg has this Greg has it Greg Sutcliffe has it running with the database in a Docker container. And so
Yep.
is there a string to provide to have it run in that container?
You know, it works out of, I mean, at least from my experience running this, it that works out of the box with a Docker
So
compose up slash
okay.
slash build.
So the reason that I'm having a problem is because I'm actually running PostgreSQL locally on this computer
And
at
then
the
because you're
port.
going to be wanting to, so you're going to
Yeah.
be wanting to connect to a database that already exists. And so I
It's not
would,
necessarily what I want to do. I probably
um,
want to do the Docker container, but it sounds like I would possibly need to change something in that Docker file.
I mean, if you're running it out of the box, you shouldn't need to change anything in the Docker file. You just need to define your environment variables.
Well, that's what I'm saying though, is
Oh,
because I'm
yes.
running an instance locally, I want to use uh I want to use the Docker container PostgreSQL, but it has to map to a different port with a different
It,
username,
I don't
password.
know if it should. I think with the Docker Compose, like that kind of stack, like it'll create a little Docker network for the kind of all of the containers in the stack. Um, and they should just be able to that should allow them all to kind of just communicate. That's why it says Augur-DB because that's referring to the host name or the host name of the database service in the stack. Um,
So that,
I
but
don't
I what
think there should be port conflicts. Like unless you're running the
But
host
yeah,
networking, which you probably aren't right now.
I
I'm
would definitely just make your .env file first and then see if that works before starting to change anything in the Docker file.
and and just make
Yeah.
the .env file this, or make
Uh,
it so that it logs into my running database.
um, let's start with the simplest option first. So running the data on your running database, which I think is actually should be the way that you do the testing environment like how to make a testing environment going forward. But that's a whole, let's just
Yeah.
get it working and
So
running. But
should I be exiting so one solution, I can put in the correct credentials for the Postgres database that I am running on this machine. Second solution would be to modify the Docker file so that it's pointing it to a different port. Although Adrian's saying that it doesn't matter because it's an internal network.
yeah.
So my
But
.env in my Augur repo, my sort of checkout of the Augur repo right now, all the environment variables that are in there are my GitHub API key, my GitHub username,
Yep.
and then some dummy values for the GitLab equivalents of those. And then I'm having the port be somewhere else. I forget exactly why I did that, but I don't have like the full connection string or anything. I
Yeah,
think
this
that's
is
sort
all
of
is
figured
in
out
my,
by yeah.
yeah, this is, I just put in in the chat exactly what I have for my .env. Um,
So if you already have a
So like if I just copy the Augur parameters that you have there, Kelly, would that work?
I don't know if it'll start up without a GitHub key, but
No, I have a GitHub key. Yeah.
So I also have some Postgres stuff running on my machine unrelated to Augur. And so I suspect that's the reason why I had this line in my end for the Augur DB port something else. I think I might have also had to tweak one of the Docker files to like fully recognize that somewhere else. Let me double check. So I think there was one spot in one of the Docker files that wasn't referring to that port variable when it should be. But other than that, I've been able to run things. I mean, granted, I'm on a Linux environment, so macOS might be another variable, but
I think port 5432 being in use is a problem.
um,
Allie, are you on an Apple Silicon Mac or on an Intel Mac?
I'm on an M1, and so I forget which one that is.
Apple Silicon.
That's the Apple
Yeah.
Silicon.
Yep. And so the branch, did I put this in chat yet? The branch, yeah. The branch that I've made, again, I don't want to push this, and I definitely want everyone else to test this before any type of merging occurs. But I was able, like, pretty much the version of Oh, yeah, you actually might be running to the very error that I'm referring to that affects Mac. But the version of PySog, like I don't know how to pronounce it, but the version of a specific package that y'all are using has a known error for Mac Silicone.
Is
It
it this
doesn't work.
libpq version thing?
Let me see. It's the PySog or however you pronounce it. Like that PySog 2, yes. Oh yeah, that's exactly the error that I'm talking about. So most likely actually would fix your problem is going to be the update that I'm going to push once I can confirm that
Verify it.
once I can verify that it all works. And I want to make sure it also works in other environments and that doesn't cause some other problems elsewhere. But yep, the package version that y'all are using is known not to work in Mac environments. And so the update to the package version that I have in there is a different branch, fixes this problem.
Okay. That would be awesome.
But I would say that you need to just pull my branch is going to be the fastest way because you have to go and change this version in like 8 files.
All right.
And I did push to Augur this branch, so it should be this branch does exist in the Augur repository. It's called doc macfix or docker macfix.
Oh, okay. Oh, but it's all right, there we go. So I'm gonna I went out. I'm gonna clone that. What did I do wrong? Oh, I bet you to do the clone, I just do that and then I check out that branch.
Yep, and then you'll need to do a complete a new build. So you'll have to do Docker compose up dash build to tell it to rebuild the container.
It's Docker compose up dash build. Is that what you said?
Docker, yep.
Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. Just
Guys, I think I'll be leaving for a while. I actually have somewhere to be at. So
Sure,
could I
sure.
get the recording somewhere?
Yeah, the recordings are generally published within a day. So
Okay,
I don't actually personally know how to do it. I rely on our community manager. But I'll make a point to
It's on
just,
the YouTube. It's
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
CHAOSS YouTube channel.
yeah,
So I could find it in the main YouTube link
Yes.
to this, right? Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
And so yeah, that'll be posted. And then usually if
Yeah.
you ask like message in the chat like a day or two later, if it's not already in there, then the community manager will kind of bump to make sure to do it. They know that somebody is waiting for it.
Yeah, fine, fine. I'll let them know if that's the case. And there's one thing I would like to ask. Actually, the thing is when I run this, my computer gets hanged and I have a 8 GB RAM. So like, do I need to upgrade it to 16 for like the complete workflow to be normal, or is it a problem with the Docker?
What
so
machine are you running first?
Windows.
Oh, I don't think any of the maintainers have Windows, so none of us have any ability to really. I mean, I'll let other people talk as well, but everybody in here that's a maintainer is using Windows. I mean, it's using Linux or OS, and so my automatic, like, I would recommend using a virtual machine, but I'll let other people give their
yeah,
opinions.
I think, go ahead,
Um,
John.
I will say that I have a Windows machine. I've never tried to run Augur on it because generally we sort of just assume that everyone is either going to use Linux or Mac OS. But 8 GB of RAM should be fine for very small instances. But if you are planning to try to collect a lot of data, then that will very quickly not be useful. So
Okay.
I would say that
So
um, for just testing and local development, 8 GB is fine. But I think that Callie
I should upgrade it to
definitely,
16. Yeah, fine.
yeah, Callie definitely. I think that suggestion is probably also going to be very helpful. Maybe not a full virtual machine. If you are on modern versions of Windows, like Windows 10 or Windows 11, then you should have access to something called the Windows Subsystem for Linux, or WSL,
I'm
which
actually using
is
that. So
okay.
that is working for me. The thing is, right now, when I was running this, when I was trying to build the Golang part, I was having an error. That's why I had to join this meet and check on it. Uh,
Have
but
you looked to see
while I
if
was running,
Golang is having issues specifically with Windows, like the Golang version? Because that's kind of how I figured out the issue, like this issue that we're looking at right now for Mac, was looking specifically at the package and for the version type and the operating system. And so it was a little bit, or I guess I shouldn't say Greg Sutcliffe did. And so that might be a helpful debugging tactic, because there might be some type of known problem with Windows, with Go in that version. Stuff like that is kind of good to look into.
okay, so I
Did
should
you
basically
post
check on the versions first, right?
did you post your error on Slack in the last couple days? Like, were you one of the
Yeah,
3 or so threads?
I think I did that on Sunday, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, that day
Okay, because I
yesterday.
think all of the people that had issues with the Golang stuff on Slack, I think the core error was like that scripts docker install Golang deps.sh file not found error. If that's the case, you are probably running the Docker build from the wrong
Hello.
directory. Hello?
Scripts that I actually I don't have a track of it right now because the thing is when I was having this issue, I was continuously changing the Docker file, but I think I'll have to look into it again. So I'll check on the scripts.py. The thing is, I commented 2 lines out of it, and then I changed the works.deps file, and then it was continuously hanging. So I thought I'll just check on it. By what is the issue with what issues others are having on this? So
I would see if you can
I'll,
try and just get a clean version, like just a no changes version working first, potentially. Um, because I feel like every time I try and change stuff, like I end up layering several changes, and then like I later find out that,
yeah, and
oh,
then
that change interfered with that change, and I'm like 3 levels deep of brokenness, and it's just harder to debug things.
Hey,
uh,
Sean, what are you doing? What's
Well,
going on?
so okay. So
I
the
just wanted
error
to
that
try to see what happens. Yeah, I'm
so
completely
the
fine
error
with it.
the error I got is this makes sense because
Okay.
I am running Postgres locally. I
Yep.
was trying to figure out, well, where do I change the port? I was thinking if I change the port in the database file, but I don't know if it doesn't seem that that port is specified anywhere else. So it could be that the other containers are assuming port 5432 and it won't work.
I think
Um,
it's defined in the Docker file.
Sean, add the Augur DB port environment variable to your .env, the one that I posted in chat. I'm using 5679 just because it's a different number, but yeah, that should change all the relevant places in the Docker file that are like gonna cause a port to be mapped onto your host.
Okay.
But
Oh, go. Basically what I did is I added this parameter this port, and I specified something other than 5432 since it is in use on this machine.
Yeah, that should work.
you won't need to rebuild the container each time like that, but
Oh,
it does take
that was dumb. Yeah, I like to make it
But I
take
mean,
longer.
hey,
I don't know.
it's building fast, so I mean, like, doesn't really fully matter.
Hmm.
Ports are not available. It's still going to the 5432 port. You can see go into the Docker container because Adrian, you might want to give a look because there are some changes that I made to the Docker container on
Yeah,
this.
here is it is specified in this. So if I just change that, it was specified in the database container. So I'll just try
Okay.
I'll try changing that as a first step.
You don't have to build every.
Sorry.
Okay, like I said, I'm used to the build command costing way more time. So
I wonder if I guess Adrian, did I
I would
specify?
I'd look in the Docker Compose because I did make some changes to the Docker Compose that this might impact. I don't know. So let's open up the Docker Compose. Yeah.
So there's only one place I can see
Oh.
in the compose that has like all of the references to the port number use the variable. Oh, is it that? Maybe not all of them.
Well,
I was like,
So be careful because one of them's internal, like one of them's the port within the container. So I'm not sure why did
I mean,
this been changed lately? Because I feel like
yeah,
mine
that's literally just exactly what I just said twice. Is that this is my branch. I have made some
this is your branch.
changes.
Sorry, yeah.
Yes. We have not merged this. This is just stuff and it might be the proof that these changes shouldn't happen. But I was working with Greg on like simplifying a lot. Oh, so this looks like let's see, the port may be incorrectly specified. And so you might want to, I mean, from what I understand is that you might still need to be like the internal system still needs to be 5432 and that your reference to the external system, you're like, yeah, it's not but I don't know exactly how this is borderlining my line of understanding, but how I understand is like one side is what is your machine, the other side is
The left-hand side is your computer, and the right-hand side is the container.
So change that to a 2.
Yeah, that should be
and then change all the rest of them back to the 2.
I don't think let's just try that. The port may be incorrectly specified. I do not know.
Let me take everything else that I changed to 4 back to 2, because that's, I believe, what we're saying I'm using as the internal port in the Docker network that's created. Oops.
Oh, God.
My brain just does not, there it is. It doesn't find these little. feel like I got farther this time. There was something, it looked like something was being complained about. Okay, yes, I'm running with super user not recommended. Sorry, I dug that grave and don't want to clean it up right now. This almost looks like it should be, it almost looks like it's working. Um, gonna, well, are you seeing this? Are you seeing what screen are you seeing?
Your whole desktop.
But you're seeing the terminal still?
Yeah.
Okay, I have like 3 screens, so I just want to make sure it was showing the right one. So I guess to find out if it's really working, I would go to localhost :5002. Whoa! What do you know? So Callie, I do think that whatever you've done in your branch, I was obviously able to make it work with some tweaking. And so what I don't know for sure is how to do that so that the Docker Compose would take in the Augur DB port parameter instead of the hard specified one. And it looks like it would only need to be in that one place.
I'm not sure if she's back yet, but she did
Oh,
mention
yeah.
a few minutes ago
Oh,
that she was
yeah.
going to step away.
Right. So what I was saying is I think if I change this to Augur DB port, and is the can some, I don't know, maybe Adrian or John, does that dash Augur just specify a default?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
under ports, I would simply specify 5432 as the default. Yes.
I wouldn't think you
Yep.
want to change the user though. I mean,
Oh,
'cause that's
right.
not.
No. I wouldn't.
So I
Um,
don't actually know if you can use the variables in the same way outside of the environment context. You might be able to, but I've only ever seen the sort of default value thing in the environment section and other places like that.
Sorry, I had to hop off for a second, but it looks like that there's an Augur instance running in the background. Is that
yeah, it
this?
works. Yeah.
Oh, great.
It came
Oh,
up, and so the piece I was trying to sort then is for your Docker compose.yaml to take the parameter out of the config file for the ports.
yeah.
And I don't know, I don't know enough.
It looks like it should work because I think at least in my Docker Compose, there's it's referring to the Augur target environment variable in the build section. Like, hey, if the Augur target is specified, use this other path to the Docker file. If not, just default to the name Docker file. So it looks like it does work outside of the environment block. So it might be worth just giving it a try. Like, hey, can we use it in the
what would
ports?
would I put it in the environment or would I put it right in the ports? I think you're
You'd
saying
probably
put it
just
right
put it
in
right
the
in the
ports.
ports. Yeah.
And so this does confirm, it seems like, that the issue that's occurring on my machine it is like like there's some type of timeout resource allocation thing that's causing problems versus the build itself. Nice. Can you just like copy and paste that line to me in chat? Because I'm gonna update my branch. I'll update my branch with it.
Sure.
It
You
should
want me
probably
to see
say
if it works?
-5432 just because that's the
Oh.
default. But anyway,
Okay. Yeah,
might
you're
even
right.
get picked.
You're right. Nope, it's an important one though.
Yeah, this is
Okay. So I'm going to go back over to this screen, shut it down.
Interesting. Okay. Glad to know that this works and that it's my machine problem. And then hopefully I will be MIA. I don't know how many days I'm going to be MIA. We'll see. I have a minor surgery tomorrow. And so, but hopefully I'll be able to figure out what it is resource wise that needs to be specified on my machine. And then I'll put this pull request in and definitely would like to make sure that it's getting tested on Linux, bare metal, any of the version changes and stuff is compatible with everybody else's environments as well, and it's not just fixing and then breaking something else. And then I want to go through and update all of the documentation around Docker because I do think I mean, it is I think it's fairly simple at this point. And then we'll be hopefully pretty in a stable
So
spot.
just to highlight what I'm doing here, I failed to specify Augur DB port equals.
I don't think no that because that would only be necessarily in the environment block, I think.
Okay, because I got this error over here.
I wonder if you're using like a if you typed dash, I wonder if it is like trying to default to like a different kind of dash. I just pasted in chat what something that might be easy to copy paste just to avoid like if your computer tried to put like an M dash instead of a hyphen. You probably need the dash
Oh yeah.
for it, but
I
yeah.
think the issue is that you put Augur DB port equals. I don't
That was
think-
added after the
Okay.
run.
I think that that did it, Adrian.
Great. I'll make sure to update this.
Hard refresh. Yeah, that worked. So if I go back over to,
Please, John, please save me.
well, I mean, it's just dumb luck having all the right people here who've been
Oh no, John
messing.
commented in chat saying that we can add Docker deployment to the GitHub actions before merging in dev, and I'm saying, please do that for dev and main. I do not love the fact that me running
We do it in
on
main.
there's been
and
there's been multiple times that I have been or myself or Greg have gone to run it in our environment and it has broken. So something isn't fully built, like it's not fully testing the build, or maybe this has been enabled since those times that have happened, but trying to figure out, okay, the build is one thing and then it running is another thing. We've hit problems with the build before with stuff that has been in main. And we've had problems.
To the best of my knowledge, we build the containers when merging into dev, but not when merging into main. And I don't believe there's ever a place where we actually try to run the containers. I think we just check that they build.
And so I think that especially
but I'm
since
pretty
main
sure
gets used as like the way to fix stuff, like a quick fix is merging directly into main. And so things are getting merged into main that are not being at the bare minimum like tested to see if it builds. And so I don't know if we can add that to main as that's since it's on dev when it
So
is the point that we're merging in main that's
I think
tested.
I think so a couple things. First, does anyone know if there's a way to like paste code like Markdown in a Google Doc? Because I want to paste
I usually
YAML
just
file.
set the font to monospace. I don't know if I think Google Docs has recently added Markdown, so you might be able to do the backticks thing, but I don't know how complete their Markdown support is.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like John, is that the BRs for bug fixes in production are going to main, and then those aren't getting like things like that aren't getting like tested, and then they go to build it and it doesn't, and sometimes they break
Oh, I thought you were just
because
gonna do a
it.
single line. I'm sorry.
No,
Oh
I was doing
yeah,
the whole
just
thing.
I just please just do the single line. The whole file makes it to where I have to search through and then figure out where what was changed. But
All
yeah,
right,
the single.
got it. You got it. Single line. And this is the single line. Actually, this is the single line.
I think I got it. It looks like the single backtick, single line syntax works in Google Docs, so it just made it monospace.
Perfect.
Oh,
Thank
wow.
you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, that's definitely we're about to get to the end of the call, so I don't know, but it's something I definitely want to talk through more of figuring out, making sure that stuff that's getting merged to main is able to build and is able to run. Um, and if the build portion of it can be tested via GitHub action, we 100% should be doing that. That makes everyone's life like anything we can automate, we should automate. The build portion, I know it's harder, but it is important.
Does I guess do John Strunk or John McGinnis or Adrian know how to create those rules? Like I know we have these are the rule sets that we have. No, I don't have any rule sets apparently.
Rules, what are the rules? Sorry, I might have missed the context.
Somehow when we build Augur on main, like it does build Docker containers. It's in the
.github directory,
okay.
and there's going to be a workflows directory in there.
I have I could look into it, but I at the moment have no experience with configuring GitHub Actions.
John Strunk, what about you? If you have experience, I could grant you maintainer status so that you could just make a branch or something if that's easier or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to grant me permissions, but
Okay.
I'll put something together and I'll put a PR up. You just want to test at least test the builds in both dev and main.
Yeah. Anytime we merge a
Okay.
pull request into either branch, I think that would be smart.
Sure.
I see a bunch of GitHub foo every time there's a pull request into main. I've got a lot of these. I guess I don't see that in dev. Like there's these, well, there's checks. So it does some kind of build image, but it seems as though perhaps that is not the build image that we want, or it's not complying with the same Docker compose or something. I don't know. Here's where I get lost because when I look at it, it looks like we have rules, but I think there's a couple different ways that rules happen on GitHub, and I might not be fully grokking the distinction.
Yep. I'll take a look at it.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that very much. And hopefully some of the things that we did here today will be helpful to people.
Yeah, at the very least, I'm glad that you now have like a running environment. We now have some video of people like kind of going through it. I think we're one step like closer to having, I think we're really close to just having like a working like Docker environment that I think has a low barrier of entry for people. Again, I need to figure out what's going on with mine because I also think that it'll be what I'm hitting. I think that realistically a lot of people will probably hit, and needing to know how to allocate the resources and doing the time, like the timeout stuff will be good to be able to have for the documents. But I have to bounce right now. I have think bye.
Okay, understood. Oh, I don't want to put my key in there.
Nobody checked the revision history on this extremely public document.
So I don't know why the tick mark isn't working in these cases, but you get the idea.
So the
I mean,
grave, I think, only works if you type it and then enter the line and then type it again, as opposed to just trying to like put it onto the.
I see. So
Lines.
pasting is not as useful.
I think when I did the DB port variable line, like I pasted it and then added the backticks later, and it seemed to work.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Google Docs probably has inconsistent markdown support. 'Cause I
You
think
know,
it's a relatively new feature of theirs.
if I bit
For me,
sometimes
in Google Slides, if I do a backtick and then I paste and then another backtick, it works. But if I try to add backticks to text that I already pasted, it didn't work for me. But that was not in Docs, that was in Slides.
it's the information's there, even though it's it looks kind of weird. Oops. That's so these are awesome. This is great that we've got some of the Docker stuff figured out a little bit more. And thank you everybody for showing up and contributing to this project. Really grateful for everyone. The recording should be posted by the end of tomorrow, and talk to y'all later.
See you guys.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.